when you decide you want to start sculpting different animal figures, one of the things you really have to pay attention to is the face. Because really, the placement of the eyes, the shape of the ears, how you do the muzzle and the nose, that's really what defines the animal. I took, just as an example, I took all the same basic shapes to start out with. I used the same cutter. I used all the same color just to prove that, we're concentrating on the eyes and ears, the shapes and stuff like that. I actually used Sculpey Terracotta, which is kind of fun. It's very soft, but it comes in this big block, and it's great for, big projects if you want to do like, coil pottery and that kind of thing. It's just a fun alternative, just another clay to try out. So I just decided to use that so that everything would kind of be uniform and we can concentrate on what makes one thing look different from the other. And, these are pretty obvious, but we'll go over the different components and the placement of the eyes and that kind of thing. Some of these are mix and match, you don't have to do your cat muzzle and nose like that. You can do it, more like the dog if you want. But certain things define why it looks like the animal. We recognize it as the animal that it is. So hopefully you can recognize these. We have a dog, a cat, a bear, bunny, pig, monkey, chicken, some type of bird, frog, and a mouse. They all have eyes, nose, ears. So how do we distinguish them? Well, obviously one thing is the ears. So I'm just going to go through some various ways to shape the ears, and then you can adapt them to whatever animal you want. If you notice, some of these I hand formed, and some of them I used a cutter. And I'll talk about, both of those methods too. Totally up to you, depends on what you feel like doing. We can see there's different types of muzzles I did and noses. We'll talk about those. And obviously the ears, which kind of define what the animal is. So I'm just going to grab some clay. This, by the way, this middle color is just one part of the terracotta and one part white, just to distinguish that. So I'm just going to go ahead and start to show you how to form some of these things. I think one of the most useful shapes when you're doing animal figures is the little triangle pinch. And I always tell my students, this little pinch right here in your finger, that little V shape, is the handiest little pinch in your hand, your set of hand tools. I'm going to do them kind of big so you can see. I start off everything by rolling a ball and then flatten it slightly. And so for this I'm going to show you like the ears, the cat ears and the pig ears here. That little pinch, you just want to squish the clay in there, and then with this hand press at the bottom so you're getting a triangle. Now obviously when you press up the bottom, you're pushing up the thickness too. So it's a little back and forth so you get it the right shape versus the right thickness. You may find you took too much clay, so you have to reduce your clay. Whatever, but that little pinch in there is really handy, whether you're doing ears or that little nose. So for the, to distinguish between these, okay, they're both triangles. This one I just, bent up a little bit, and this one I put this in to define it. And in the long run, it's up to how you envision your little sculpture, but things like that are what will distinguish it from looking like one type of animal or another. So, the thing to remember here is the little pinch. We're going to roll the ball, flatten it, pinch it, and use the triangles. I like to use a ball tool often to put that in there, or in a larger piece. I have this little rounded tool. It's just a good thing to use for that. So that's your basic triangle. Now, a lot of them have different size noses like that. And again, that's the same thing, the handy little pinch. I always start with a ball. Get the ball nice and smooth. Even when it's tiny, you're going to flatten it a little bit. You're going to use that same little pinch and the same push-up that you use for all of them. And whether you know, wherever you place it, however big you make it, that's up to your taste, but it's the same basic shape that's so handy. Another thing, when you have taken your clay, you grab your piece of clay, you roll it, you squeeze it, you put it into your triangle, then you go to do your second one and you think, wonder how much clay I grabbed there. I am a big fan of pre-measuring so that you know you have the same amount. So you can take a cutter. This is just rolled out to a 1. It doesn't matter the thickness as long as if you do the 2 pieces with the same cutter, then this is the same amount of clay, so the ears should turn out the same size. You know, if you need more, you can use a bigger cutter, you can double the thickness, you can use 2 rounds for each one. It doesn't matter. The point is to know ahead of time how much clay is going into one, because once you form that into a shape, it's really hard to kind of eyeball how much clay you used unless you pre-measured it. All right, so the bear's ears, in general, they're just a little bit more rounded. So same thing, roll the ball, squished it a little bit flat, and from there you can either just press it on, which will flatten it a bit, or if you want a rounded top and a flat bottom, you can just kind of tap it like that. And then you have not as distinct of a triangular shape, you just have that rounded shape up there. And same thing, I just, you know, put some little form of indentation in there so that it shows like it's a little curved ear. So that's the difference in those ears. Puppy dog and the bunny ear are actually related. They both start out with, everything starts out with a round ball. And it gets flattened. And for the puppy ears, I do the same little pinch, not as tightly as for the triangles, but I'm still pinching there. You can see the V in there. And then it's just a matter of exactly what shape you want the dog's ears. If you want it droopy, you can press it a little more. Again, it's just a matter of back and forth, flattening and elongating until it's the size you want, the shape you want.